something strange. But same like Dr. Fani, I never make a stand, I'm always on the move between different countries and, going to different parts of the world. Yes, indeed, Anastasia, you are absolutely right. I'm in business in Seychelles since 1996. And we have been licensed by FSA authority. This is exactly what Dr. Fani mentioned in his previous slides, that to be able to run the business of registered agent or trustee or foundation provider in Seychelles, you have to be licensed. And it is not a really not an easy process. You have to be professional. You have to have staff, professional staff in your office. You have to train them. You have to develop your AML procedures and everything. So yes, Seychelles is a welcome country, but it's very, very rightly regulated in accordance with international norms. So today I will be talking about recent developments, recent legislation which we adopted in December 2018. And what we found with our international clients is that not everybody understands what's exactly happened half a year ago. We've been working on this legislation very close with Dr. Fani's office. Had numerous meetings with FSA, with our Seychelles Revenue Commission, and we managed to sort out the BEPS issue the best way possible for our clients. So we didn't lose our IBC key features, very attractive features if we compare with other jurisdictions. And at the same time, we managed to meet all the BEPS requirements which OECD put in front of us. We managed to meet FITF requirements and other requirements like FATCA, CRS, automatic exchange of information and so on. So let's have a quick look at what was going on in Seychelles as from December 2018. Okay, here we are. This is a list of legislation we amended to satisfy BEPS requirements. We're not talking today about all these acts, but only about the blue ones, ABC Act and the Business Tax Act. This is my presentation about. So if we're talking about the IBC Act, IBC is International Business Companies. So in December 2018, there were two amendments actually to this law. First amendment was about specifically about administrative issues, corporate issues. And another amendment was about BEPS issues, about tax issues. So for the administrative amendments, just a very quick look, one slide about administrative issues of IBC Act. And the rest of the slides will be about taxation issues. If we're talking about the corporate matters, then in December 2018, we said register of directors, yes, it is centralized nowadays in Seychelles. It is kept with Dr. Fani. However, it is not open for public. It's clear. Because before our clients were not sure, is it open for public, not open for public? It is centralized and not open to the public, full stop. Next amendment, if we're talking about the corporate matters, is restoration by the registrar. Back in 2016, we had in our legislation the provision that if the company somehow was not compliant with some provisions of our law, it will be struck off by FSA, and the company could be restored by the court only. And the court takes time, and it's quite expensive. So what we decided, and we negotiated with FSA, look, this is not reasonable. We have to, if the FSA struck off the company, it has to be restored by FSA. And eventually in December 2018, the amendments were introduced in our IBC Act. And now the non-compliant IBC can be restored to the register by the FSA itself, not through the court, provided, of course, that IBC is compliant with the provisions of our legislation. Now, restoration by court, if the company was dissolved or somehow struck off many, many years ago, it can be restored by court within 12 years. For example, the client, 11 years ago, they abandoned the company, they abandoned the business, and now they came back and they say, Tatiana, I want to run this business again. Okay, no worries. We can do it. We just need to apply to the court. It is 11 years, not yet 12, not yet 13 years. So we apply to the court and we restore. And we did have such cases whereby the company can be restored not only by the client itself, but by the creditor. The creditor came to us last year and said, Tatiana, this IBC is owing me a lot of money. Can I restore? Yes, we have provision in our IBC Act 2016. Yes, we can restore the company, and we did. And the last amendments for the corporate matters was a strike-off period, and it is now 7 years. What does it mean, strike-off? Okay, let's say the client, he had an IBC, he did not renew the company on time, then the company went to strike-off, and after the company was struck off, it is still on the register. It's not alive. It's Sleeping Beauty. But it can be awakened within 7 years. So this is a very usable mechanism for the company to get alive again. But that's all about the corporate matters. The rest of my presentation will be about taxation. And this is exactly what we really would like to discuss with you. And if you have any questions during my presentation, I really would appreciate if you raise your hand and we will discuss it right away. So let's have a look what exactly have been changed in tax matters and why IBC is now fully compliant vehicle. And we can use IBC freely, being assured that the IBC is not illegal entity, is not compliant with BEPS requirements entity. Before we go to this one, I just wanted to check with you your knowledge, not my knowledge, your knowledge. How many countries in the world we have? Total numbers.
230 something.
230. Who is next? Other guess? Come on. 206, correct, Mr. Patel. Mr. Patel said absolutely right figure. 206 countries total in the world. Do you know how many countries out of 206 implemented and using territorial tax-based system? Any guess? No guess. Okay. I just reveal the secret to you. Out of 206 countries, about 50 countries, they adopted the territorial tax system, 50. The rest of the countries, they adopted the residence tax system. Out of 50 countries, almost 40 countries, they do belong to OECD round table. 40 countries, OECD countries, adopted territorial tax system. So, Seychelles have been cute enough to adopt the same approach, territorial tax system in Seychelles, as from December 2018. Now we will have a look how it is affected our IBC product, international business companies. So, IBC now can carry on business in Seychelles. We all know that before, the IBC being just a simple offshore vehicle, which cannot do the business in Seychelles, cannot own the property in Seychelles, cannot do shipping in Seychelles, cannot do yachting in Seychelles, cannot do fishing in Seychelles. So it's a pure offshore. Now we amended the law that the IBC can do business in Seychelles, whatever business. Unless it is, of course, licensed, you have to obtain a local license, and No worries. You can do the same business as any local Seychelles company. The next important element of the BEPS amendments is tax residence in Seychelles. Nowadays, the clients are asking, Tatiana, is the IBC a tax resident in Seychelles? The answer is yes, and we will see it later on. By definition, the Seychelles IBC is a tax resident in Seychelles, because it's not only the IBC Act which was changed, but the Business Tax Act as well. Tax benefits. We all remember that our IBC Act had a section 352 which say that IBC is excluded, is exempted from the list of taxes like VAT, business tax, social responsibility tax, and so on. Now, the section 352 was abandoned, doesn't exist anymore, so the IBC is liable to taxes. It is not exempted from taxes. But the question, if it is liable to taxes, it will depend on the business activity, where the permanent establishment is, and other questions. We will look at them later on. So, yes, the tax benefits are not anymore available to Seychelles IBC. Income sourced in Seychelles is taxable. We will have a more close look in the next slides what exactly the Seychelles income means. Just a second. Yes. The main amendments in the Business Tax Act is that in BTA Act we adopted purely territorial tax-based system, which applies to both local companies and to the IBCs. Seychelles source income, it is income which is derived in Seychelles. In the next slide we will explain what exactly it means, derived in Seychelles. And the Seychelles source income will be taxable in Seychelles. So the question to the IBC will be, if it derives the income in Seychelles or not. So the foreign source income is not taxable in Seychelles. So this is the basic principle of the territorial taxation. And of course, the double tax agreements are applicable to IBC nowadays, which was not the case before. Now, I like reading the law and I like explaining the law. And this is a copy-paste of the definition of Seychelles source income, which is crucial to understand when we trying to see if the company is liable to tax or not. So we have to read this one carefully. And it is a section 5 of our Business Tax Act, amended one. So an amount derived by a resident person in carrying on business is derived from sources in Seychelles if derived from activities conducted in Seychelles, goods situated in Seychelles, or rights used in Seychelles. This is very important definition, regardless of the residence of the parties participating in the transactions and the place where the agreements are executed. If we comparing this definition with, say, for example, Hong Kong definition. Some of our clients, they do use Hong Kong vehicles, and the Hong Kong is also, they adopted the territorial tax base. But in Hong Kong definition of Hong Kong sourced income, it is very important where the agreement is signed. If the agreement is signed in Hong Kong, the Hong Kong company will be the tax resident. In Seychelles, we adopted slightly different. We don't mind if the agreement is signed in Seychelles, but we do mind if the goods are in Seychelles, if the services are provided, activity conducted in Seychelles, and we do mind if the IP rights are used in Seychelles. So there is a difference between different jurisdictions. This is definition for Seychelles. Here I just give you some examples. What does it mean, activities conducted in Seychelles? Say, for example, your client came to Seychelles and he opened a factory. Or your client came to Seychelles and got the license for yacht chartering in Seychelles waters. As far as the yachts are chartered in Seychelles waters, this activity conducted in Seychelles. If the yacht is chartering outside Seychelles waters, it's a foreign source income, whatever they do there. Or services provided from Seychelles. If your client came to Seychelles and he rented an office and he started, he sit by the computer and providing consultation services, sitting in Seychelles, providing these consulting services to different countries, to different customers in different countries, their source of income will be Seychelles source income. Okay. Next one is goods and assets situated in Seychelles. So goods brought to Seychelles. Yes? Good.
The question has two parts. First part is easy. I have money in a bank in Seychelles. Do I conduct business there, activity? And the second part is I have Seychelles company with license, financial license, that I use it outside Seychelles and sending the income to a bank in Seychelles. Again, will it be income in Seychelles for tax reasons?
Okay. First question is the IBC having a bank account in Seychelles and it has some income in that bank account. Where the activity is conducted, what exactly is the activity of the company? If the activity is outside Seychelles and it has only the bank account, no taxation. Explain you why. Because it's not remittance-based taxation like in Singapore. For example, in Singapore, it's also a territorial tax system, but on remittance base. So if the company in Singapore company has offshore income somewhere else in UK or States or whatever, Israel, and they generate the income there, as soon as their income money coming to Singapore account, tax. Good? Did I answer your question? Good. Second question, just can you please repeat?
Second question is already understood.
Yeah.
From the first one.
Good one. So it's not remittance based, definitely. Goods assets situated. Goods, if you bring the goods like cacao butter from Kenya or whatever to Seychelles and then you sell it to China, yes, these goods came into Seychelles, you sell it from Seychelles, yes, income is derived in Seychelles, clear. If the goods are not coming to Seychelles, it's coming from Kenya to China, no Seychelles income. Yes? Yes, correct. Mr. Patel is correcting me. If it is a SITZ, it's a different story. But we talking about the general approach of the IBCs. Most of our IBCs are not situated in Seychelles trade zone. So most of our IBC have international business. They never brought goods to Seychelles and out of Seychelles. So it is somewhere between the producer and the customer, but not in Seychelles. So if the goods are not brought to Seychelles, no Seychelles source income. Rental income, if your client, if your IBC one day decide to buy a property at Eden Island, for example, and rent it out, the rental income will be taxed in Seychelles. It's, obvious. The next one is the rights used in Seychelles. Income from license of IP rights, if these rights are used exactly in Seychelles to generate income in Seychelles, such royalty will be definitely taxed in Seychelles. So it's clear, very simple, nothing complicated actually. By the way, our BTA Act is a very small piece of legislation, simple, down to earth. All the questions are clear. This slide, it repeats the previous one. I will not be stopping on this slide because we already talked about it, about Seychelles source income. I give you some examples. What I want to really you understand is these two different parts of the slide, left and right. Let's talk about the foreign source income. If the company has only foreign source income, nothing to do in Seychelles, with Seychelles, just a registration. It's a tax resident company. It can obtain a tax identification number and no other changes. So when clients are jumping and asking us, Tatiana, what is different now? What do we need to do? But if you have a foreign source income, you have nothing to do. Calm down. Everything is fine. You just can. You have a possibility now to obtain a TIN number. No changes. Same administrative procedures. No tax implications in Seychelles. No substance requirements and no extra reporting. No restrictions on any activities as far as activities are within the Seychelles legislation. However, if the company one day started to receive Seychelles source income, then yes, you have to be mindful. There are changes which will affect somehow your IBC administrative issues. Within 1 month of generating the first Seychelles source income, what your IBC have to do? They have to report this income. They have to declare to Dr. Fani, to FSA, yes, we received the income in Seychelles. We started business in Seychelles. Okay, so you have to submit to Dr. Fani sort of declaration. Okay. The secondly is such company has to register with tax authority, which is the Seychelles Revenue Commission, SRC. Such company has to pay taxes, obtain license, if applicable, because in Seychelles we have a special legislation called a Licensing Act. If the company does engage in fishing activities, it has to obtain a certain license. If the company is engaged in yacht chartering activity, it has to have a license. And so on. We have a list of activities licensable in Seychelles. And if appropriate, the company has to obtain the license in Seychelles for such activities. The company has to of course, submit an annual tax return, prepare financial statements, and so on. And if the company employs somebody, it has to pay taxes on behalf of the employees to the Seychelles Revenue Authority. So it's simple, clear. I just wanted you to understand if the company has purely foreign source income, nothing has changed. But if the company has Seychelles source income, something is to be really, really careful. Okay. Now, permanent establishment. Permanent establishment is very important to understand when you will be doing the exercise, deciding, trying to answer the question, is my company has a Seychelles source income or not, or foreign source income? And the definition of the permanent establishment is very important in this, because if you have a permanent establishment in Seychelles, yes, your income might be regarded as Seychelles source income. And what is important, I outlined in blue. For some people, for some clients, may be important A or B or C, but for most of our clients, why I outlined only E in blue? Because most of our clients, they issue general power of attorney. And by issuing a general power of attorney, the company says that this guy to whom I issue the general power of attorney may constitute a permanent establishment. So if your client is being in Prague, issued a general power of attorney to Seychelles guy who is residing in Seychelles, permanent establishment might occur. And SRC might consider that this guy in Seychelles is conducting business in Seychelles, and there is Seychelles source income. But on the contrary, if your IBC registered in Seychelles with a director, Seychellois director, issuing a general power of attorney to a guy in Hong Kong or guy in Prague to do the business and contracts and sign contracts, business contracts, then the permanent establishment is not in Seychelles, and therefore we can prove that the income which the company receives is a foreign source income, nothing to be taxable in Seychelles. So this is why in this slide I copy-paste from our Business Tax Act the definition of permanent establishment, very important definition. You have on the USB sticks these slides, and I'm sure that it will be useful for you when you're structuring the business of your clients or your own business. Now, the most interesting part is coming now because I like drawing structures. If clients are coming to us with questions, Tatiana, what do I need? So we always draw. I tell my staff, make a picture, do the drawings. When we put everything in squares, triangles, and do these connections, suddenly we have a clear picture. Tax, no tax. Tax where? Why no tax? So let's have a look at the drawings. Let's see the example where we have a Seychelles IBC providing services which are performed outside Seychelles. For example, sitting in Prague, having an office in Prague, having a computer, and the director of Seychelles IBC sitting in Prague, do the consultation services or whatever services, engineering services, management services, whatever services they do, but they do it in Prague. So this income from such activity will not be taxed in Seychelles because it is foreign source income. Very simple. But if the guy is sitting in Seychelles, doing the same services, it will be regarded as Seychelles source income. So this, we have to be careful where the guy is sitting, where he does the business. Next one is holding structure number 1. There will be number 2. Next slide. Holding structure. Say, for example, Seychelles company, it owns the shares in Hong Kong company or Cyprus company. Whatever company, in SRO, Czech company. Doesn't matter, actually. So the dividends payments are not taxable in Seychelles as far as this Hong Kong company or Cyprus company derives income outside Seychelles. They're very important. Dividends will not be taxable in Seychelles. Holding structure number 2, it's instead of Hong Kong company, we'll have IBC2. IBC. This is very important. Some of our clients, they have such structures. They have with us one IBC. They have with Anuj, Abacus, another IBC. They have having shares in one IBC, in another IBC. And the question is, will my dividends be taxable in Seychelles or not? We have 2 resident companies because IBC is resident company right now. Both of them are resident. Interesting, yes, isn't it? So we have to look at this IBC2 more carefully. Where are they conducting business? Is it outside Seychelles? Are they trading between China and Prague? Are they trading between China and US if they are lucky to trade? Anyway, as far as they're not trading in Seychelles, we are okay. IBC, if IBC is deriving the income from foreign countries, foreign source income, it is not taxable on the level of IBC2. Now, the dividends which IBC2 paying to IBC1, withholding tax, no withholding tax. You know why? Because we have exemption participation in our Business Tax Act. Seychellois to Seychellois owes nothing. If I'm paying to Mr. Patel, I don't pay taxes because we both Seychellois. We also have to consider if the IBC1 on the level of receiving of this income, will it have any taxation? No, because income is derived somewhere else. So dividends will be regarded as a foreign source income. No taxation. Absolutely legally within our legal framework. Next one is holding structure number 3. This is where the foreign company is owning shares in the IBC. We have not many such structures, but still we might have such structures. So if the foreign company owns the shares in the Seychelles IBC, and this Seychelles IBC has activity outside Seychelles, and they have no permanent establishment in Seychelles, and receiving only foreign source income, not in Seychelles. The dividends payment not taxable in Seychelles. Now we're coming to interest, royalty, technical services, and so on. So if foreign company, for example, this slide is about foreign company, like a Czech company, signed a loan agreement to the Seychelles IBC, give them money for interest. So what will happen? How this interest will be taxable? Will it be taxable in Seychelles or not? If this Seychelles IBC does not have a permanent establishment in Seychelles, there will be no withholding tax. However, if the IBC has a permanent establishment in Seychelles, have to be very careful with power of attorneys. 15% of withholding tax. But again, as I told earlier, there's no many such cases when somebody will give to a Seychellois, to a power of attorney to do the transactions in Seychelles. It's not a usual case. So this is upside down structure. This is where the IBC is giving the loan to the foreign company. This is most common structure, where the Seychelles IBC provide loan facility to a Czech company or Cyprus company and receiving some interest. Again, if the foreign company is doing the business outside Seychelles, it derives foreign source income, and according to our section 8, a new one in the Business Tax Act, such income, dividends of such income is not taxable in Seychelles. This is another structure. Interest, royalty, and technical. The same like for there are dividends. I show you IBC. You remember dividends, yeah? This is interest. This is where our clients asking, Tatiana, we signed the agreement between one IBC and another IBC, both residents. Are there any tax implications in Seychelles? Well, this slide provides you the answer. There will be no withholding tax if permanent establishment is outside Seychelles. For the IBC2. If IBC2 used this money somewhere in Czech Republic to build something, to create the business in Czech Republic, not in Seychelles. So the income is in Czech Republic, income not in Seychelles. So the interest from this loan will be free of taxes in Seychelles. There will be no taxation in Seychelles. The receipt of money in the IBC1 also will be exempt from tax. However, if this Czech Republic, if this IBC2 is conducting the business using the loan facility in Czech Republic, then it has a permanent establishment in Seychelles. If it issued a power of attorney and blah, blah, blah. There will be a 15% withholding tax in Seychelles. So we have to be really careful when we issuing the power of attorneys to our clients. very often the clients are asking, Tatiana, we have an IBC, a simple IBC, passive one. We just holding investment portfolio with Swiss banks. We have securities, we have bonds, we have some cash over there in Credit Suisse or somewhere. And yes, my company does generate income, like I have an investment portfolio of 50 million euro. My income is 100,000 a year. Will this 100,000 a year be taxable in Seychelles? The answer is no. Why? Because who is running this investment portfolio? The guy in Swiss bank. Most of the time, yes, the management, the administrator of the investment portfolio. But if the client is running his own portfolio, making decision where to invest, where to withdraw the money, and invest in the other bonds or other securities or other listed shares. And if this guy is not sitting in Seychelles and making such a decision, then of course there is no taxation in Seychelles because it's foreign source income. Is it clear? Okay, good. Advantages of the new IBC, the positive things about the new IBC regime. I was scaring you about the taxes, be careful, be careful. Yes, we have to be careful. This is everywhere in the world when we're talking about taxes. Taxes is all about being careful. You have to, when you're starting the business, you are careful about your business plan. You calculate how many income, how many expenses, how many investment you do. The same in taxes. You have to be very careful. So, but we do have these advantages for the new IBC regime. Let's have a look at it. IBC, any IBC, doesn't matter, doesn't have a foreign source income or Seychelles source income, it can obtain a TIN number. Why do we need a TIN number? Do you know why are we talking about this TIN number?
For the purpose of opening of the bank accounts.
Absolutely correct. Now, every bank requires you to submit a TIN number. TIN number is an element which was introduced by automatic exchange, information exchange agreements, CRS for CRS purposes. So every financial institution in the world for the countries who are parties of these automatic exchange agreements, they have introduced in their financial institution procedures a new form, or in most cases it is a software where you can't skip the questionnaire without putting the TIN number in there. So you have to put the TIN number. And we were approached by many clients from China, from Prague, from Cyprus, recently from States, from UK definitely, asking, Tatiana, yes, we are using your Seychelles IBC. We are so happy with this IBC, but now the bank asked us for TIN number. And moreover, the clients told me, Tatiana, the bank sent me the letter. They are going to close my account in 2 weeks if you do not provide me with a TIN number. Absolutely legal business, absolutely legal, legal, they are within the legal frame in Seychelles, in another country where they conduct the business. However, the bank do require the TIN number. And we found a solution. We had a lot of talks with our Seychelles Revenue Commission. Nowadays, the IBC can apply for TIN number. We can obtain it for you. Now we're working on our online system, but for the time being, we have a manual application, about 2-3 days, and you will have a TIN number. Okay. The next one is onshore status. No need to move to onshore jurisdictions. We had a trend for the past 2-3 years when the people were moving their companies from BVI to Cyprus, from Belize to Cyprus as well, and Seychelles to somewhere else. There's not many countries where you can move your companies because not many countries have provisions for continuation in, continuation out. Just very few. So our clients wanted to change their offshore status to onshore status. And when we saw the trend that Seychelles company also would like to change their status to the onshore, we told them, stop. We are onshore. There is no offshore. There is no Seychelles offshore company anymore. All companies in Seychelles are resident companies by definition, finished. We just adopted the territorial tax base. And we have to see if the company is taxable or not taxable. But if we are talking about offshore, onshore, there is no difference. In Seychelles, we are all onshore. And in fact, we have a lot of applications for moving companies from offshore BVI to Seychelles onshore. Key features of the IBC have not been changed. They are absolutely the same. One director, one shareholder, 24 hours registration, no submission of financial statements if there is foreign source income, and so on. So nothing has been changed actually in terms of administration. No restriction on business activities. I can explain you this one, because if we look now at how other offshore jurisdictions approach the BEPS solutions. If we look, for example, to BVI and Belize, recent legislative amendments in January 2019, you will see the list of activities in these countries which require economical substance in that countries. So if for example, one of examples of such activity, financing activity, what does it mean, financing activity? It's a loan agreement. This is simple. As far as the offshore company, BVI company signed the loan agreement, it must be present in BVI. It must be present in Belize. In Seychelles, we don't have such requirements of economic substance. Why? Because we are not offshore. Economic substance requirements are introduced for zero tax jurisdictions. Seychelles is not zero tax jurisdictions. It is a jurisdiction as any other 25 countries of OECD which adopted territorial tax base. And we do not have such a stringent substance requirements. However, as I mentioned in the beginning of my presentation, if the company decides to do business in Seychelles, we have licensing act. For example, we had clients who came to do fishing in Seychelles. Yes, we have to apply for license. And for fishing, he has to have so many boats, so many staff, and so on. This is substance requirements. We had a client who came to do health services in Seychelles, doctors. Doctors, they have to have so many square meters, so many staff in the hospital, whatever clinic. They have to have at least 2 toilets in the clinic, one for staff, one for customers. So there are substance requirements. As far as we are talking about business doing in Seychelles. Okay. Questions and answers. We received about 100 questions, and we sent to all our clients the answers. We have a separate internal portal in our company whereby we, answer all the questions to our clients. They have access to it. But here, I just want to show one main question, which we receive almost from every client. If IBC derives Seychelles source income, which is taxed, which taxes would apply in Seychelles? Which taxes to pay? Okay, I am doing business in Seychelles. What is next? How far I'm in trouble? Paying taxes in Seychelles. So let's have a look. This is a list of taxes applicable to Seychelles IBC, being a resident in Seychelles, but if they're doing business in Seychelles and deriving income in Seychelles, not for the foreign source income. First is business tax. It's like a corporate tax in Czech. Business tax. So if Seychelles... not profit, there's a mistake. Seychelles turnover. Seychelles company turnover is less than 1 million, you will pay a simplified tax rate 1.5 on the turnover. If it is bigger, then you go to the standard tax rates, which is 25% on the first million profit, and the rest is taxed by 30%. We are not offshore. You can see it by the numbers. But again, it all depends on where the income is. If the foreign source income, this is not applicable to the IBC. We're talking about salaries. Of course, if you have staff, you have to pay some taxes on the salaries. If you're interested, you send us email. We can, share with you the information. How big are the salaries? In average, it's about 15% plus minus, depending on the amount of salary. VAT 15% if turnover is more than 2 million. And again, if their goods are coming and going and sold in Seychelles. If goods are sold, not coming to Seychelles, not sold in Seychelles, there is no VAT. Corporate social responsibility, it's tax payable by local businesses deriving Seychelles source income, 0.5% or paid monthly on your turnover. Those are all taxes. I know my time is limited, but if you have any questions, this is our contact details, and I'm available for you this afternoon. We'll be glad to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Tatiana.